Morning and welcome to this meeting of the Metro Inner Development Assessment Panel. I declare the meeting open at 9:30 exactly and acknowledge we're hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respect to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters, and community. The meeting will be run in accordance with our DAP Standing Orders 2024 under the DAP Regulations 2011. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the DAP Regulations. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce the members that will be involved in today's meeting. My name is Dale Page. I'm the presiding member for today. In the room with me to my left, I have the Deputy Presiding Member, Eugene Coltaz. I have Specialist Member, Francesca Lafanti. For Part B, City of South Perth, in the room with us, Councillor Glenn Fridland. And then online for Part C, City of Canning, we have Mayor Patrick Hall and Councillor Ben Hunza. Item 2, apologies. We have apologies from Councillor Bronwyn Wall for the City of South Perth item. Item 3, members on leave of absence, they are nil. Item 4, noting of minutes. Minutes of all previous DAP meetings are available on the DAP website. Moving on to Part B of our agenda, dealing with the City of South Perth. Item 1, declaration of due consideration. Panel members need to have considered all the documentation contained within Part B of the agenda and the Part B related information. Could I please confirm by a show of hands that members have considered all information? Thank you. I'm not able to, okay, we'll deal with that later. Thank you. Item 2, disclosures of interest. Could I check with our local government member whether this application has been before you at a briefing or a meeting?
No, it hasn't.
No. Thank you, Councillor. No other disclosures of interest have been received to this point. Do any other members wish to make any declarations in relation to this item?
No. No.
Excellent, thank you. Moving on then to item 3, our Form 1 DAP application for the City of South Perth, lots 46 and 32, numbers 37 and 39 Leigh Street, and lot 45, number 16 Phillip Avenue, Como. Amendment to approve 11 two-storey group dwellings, DAP number 23/02517. Sorry, I will just clarify, this is not a Form 1 application. We are dealing with a Form 2 application for the City of South Perth. We have one presenter on this item today, Michael Stocko from Developed, speaking in support of the proposal. Michael, I remind you in accordance with our standing orders, your presentation is limited to 3 minutes. We've read everything you've submitted to us, so I encourage you to stick to what you really want to get across in those 3 minutes, and then panel members will be able to ask any questions that they may have. Your 3 minutes starts when you are ready.
Okay, thank you. Presentation on screen, please. Okay, well, thank you, members, for meeting us today. So what you have before you is a very simple amendment. It's for some changes to landscaping. At the time of demolition early last year, some French panny trees were stolen from the site, as it happens. So the landowners just wanted to do right by the city and through the proper channels seek an amended landscaping application. So if I can go to the next slide, please. So the built form aspect for these townhouses will not change at all. This is purely a landscaping amendment. And although we are removing some trees through the theft of the trees, we are still in excess of the required deep soil areas. In addition to the private trees, at the time of the original application, we had a verge tree removed. It was in poor health. And as a result of that, we've committed to replacing it with 4 new trees. But apart from that, it's very much just a simple landscaping change, and we would hope that they'll consider this to be minor in nature, and we are in complete support of the city's recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Panel members, are there any questions of the presenter? None? Okay, thank you. We have Adam Dyson, Courtney Wynne and Fiona Mullen with us today from the City of South Perth online. Are there any questions any member would like to ask the local government officers? All right. Well, that was easy. Let's move then on to the report itself. I will be seeking a mover and a seconder for the recommendation in the report. Moved Councillor Cridland, seconded Member Lafante. Councillor, would you like to speak?
Thank you, presiding member. Very briefly, this is clearly a very minor change. Quite disappointing that someone has stolen the 2 frangipani trees. I guess it's a societal problem. I can recall when this particular application, the Form 1, came before the panel, it was unanimously supported, and I can remember at the time saying that I thought it was a particularly interesting development in that a lot of the proposed or approved developments in the area had been on rectangular quarter-acre lots and had been the IKEA-style apartments, somewhat higher than these, and I thought this was a very interesting divergence from that, near to McDougall Park, and I think the landscaping will continue on from McDougall Park and make it quite interesting. It will certainly be quite distinct from the site across, I think it's Leigh Street, which has been largely cleared in the last year or so, and very austere. So I think when the amended landscaping plan goes in, it'll be a very attractive development and something different, and provide a, I'm not sure what the word is, but a different sort of accommodation for people, which makes it a more interesting community. So well done, and you have to come back here because of some thieves.
Thank you, Councillor. Member Lafante, seconded.
I would echo those comments. It's a very minor amendment. I think the ability to consider amendments within the terms of the condition is appropriate, and it would prevent any other minor changes that may have to occur as a result of your requirement of your landscaping or finalisation of your development being able to be addressed without the need to come back through this process. So overall, I'm totally supportive of it.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak for or against the recommendation?
I'm just supporting it. It's just a pity that a minor amendment like this had to go through this process again. So the new condition will avoid that in the future.
Thank you. Look, I too, and I'm not going to reiterate everything that has been said, but just for the purpose of the minutes, I'll support this. Happy to accept it as a Form 2, and I will support it, noting it doesn't propose any changes to the build form or any other component of the previous approval. The extent of deep soil area and number of trees to be planted still meets the requirements of the activity centre plan and the relevant RCodes requirements. And it's also good to see that the large jacaranda, which was proposed to be protected and retained, will still be protected and retained. So with that, I'm very happy to support. All right, let's move to a vote on this item. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 4, item 5, section 31, SATRE considerations for the City of South Perth. There are nil today. With that, I'd like to thank Councillor Glenn Crichton for your attendance and participation. Thank you too. Good luck.
Thank you. Jean.
Right. let us move on now to part C of our agenda for the City of Canning. For this part of the agenda, I'd like to welcome Mayor Patrick Hall and Councillor Ben Kunza, our local government DAP members for the City of Canning. Item 1, declaration of due consideration. Panel members need to have considered all the documentation contained within Part C of the agenda and the Part C related information. Could I please confirm by a show of hands that members have considered all information? Thank you. Item 2, disclosures of interest. Could I check with our local government members whether this application has been before you at a council briefing or a council meeting?
Councillor Kunze here. No, this has not come before council previously.
Thank you, Councillor. No other disclosures of interest have been received at this point. Do any members wish to make any declarations in relation to this item? Mayor Hall, do I see your hand? Go ahead.
Yes, you did. I'd just like to point out that I'm not in a position to make a disclosure because I don't have sufficient information in front of me. I don't know the names of directors. I don't know the owners or proponents of the third party. I don't know whether I'm connected to any of those people. And due to the lack of information within the documentation, I don't feel I'm able to make a true disclosure of interest or know whether I've got one.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Given you are not aware of and that information is provided very early in the piece of the process, but given you are not aware, it is clear to me that you would not be making any decisions with any bias. So very happy for you to continue on with this meeting. Let's move on then to item, sorry, do any other members have any declarations? No? All right, moving on to item 3 then, Form 1 DAP applications for the City of Canning. Item 3.1, lot 786, number 18, Division Street, Welshpool, warehouse/storage and office building and a use not listed, a third-party digital format sign, DAP number 25/02918. We have one presenter on this item today, Ben Carter from Pinnacle Planning, speaking in support of the proposal. Ben, I remind you, in accordance with our standing orders, you have 3 minutes for your presentation. We have read what you have submitted to us. I encourage you to try and keep your presentation to the most salient points that you wish to get across in that time frame. We'll ask you questions after your presentation, and your time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. We certainly won't be taking the 3 minutes. It is obviously a very simple matter. Good morning, panel members and members of staff. Thank you for the opportunity to present this morning. In general, the report is very favourable, as you would have seen. Our review of it is again contained to seeking the removal of condition 3 in reviewing the broader planning framework and certainly the RAR as it is set out. There's nothing that we can see that is contained which talks about a future character change for Welshpool as an industrial precinct. We note the site is generally within the middle of Welshpool. It would take quite an extreme change in the planning framework, we would think, to introduce land uses that would be a significantly different character to industrial as to what is seen there today, and perhaps highly unlikely. In terms of the design of the warehouse and the signage components, as the RAR reflects, they are specifically designed not to impact on one another, and the location of the signage is such that it meets safety criteria of main roads, and that was through careful pre-lodgement with main roads themselves. So other than to seek support and approval of the application, realistically, with removal of draft condition 3, that was all we had to say. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ben. Does any panel member wish to ask this presenter any questions? Mayor Hall, do you have questions? No? Councillor Kunza, go ahead, please.
Yes, I do. I'm not sure the cost of the screen within the $2.2 million envelope, but would the proponent be, you obviously didn't expect a time limit, would you still proceed with the electronic signage with a 10-year time clause as it's proposed by the City of Canning? would it still be economically feasible to proceed with the signage?
Look, thank you for your question, councillor. In terms of the intricate economic considerations, it's not something that we're directly across. I would say that it is a significant development cost inclusion in the development. It's not just there's a significant underground footing, for example. There's significant structural upright pylons, other safety material and equipment. So it's not essentially two screens. There's significant above and underground works that occur as part of that process. So it would be a significant, I guess, development cost, and it would be something that we would likely have to come back and seek time extensions for. But it does create, I guess, economic uncertainty around the whole project, because it really is just a restriction that essentially we don't think needs to be there.
Any other questions, Councillor Kunza?
No, that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, great. Any questions from other members?
No.
Thank you, Ben. No further questions for you. What we will do now is invite questions of the local government officers, and I believe we have Amber Curry, Adam Stilitano and Shakil Makbul with us today from the City of Canning. Are there any questions any member would like to ask the local government officers? Mayor Hall, do you have questions for the officers? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just fiddling with my laptop. Yes, thank you. I do. I just wanted to know who actually approves the structural integrity of the sign structure. Will that be done by the city based on an engineer's report? I'm just wondering about the safety aspects of the integrity. It's a significantly large structure overhanging or adjacent to a major roadway. So I just wanted a little bit of information around that.
Thank you. Officers, can you respond to that question, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through Madam Chair, those structural integrity side of things are normally dealt through the building permit process, and main roads also seek that sort of information when signs are put in the reserve. But this sign is completely on the private land, so it is the building permit process that would ensure that structurally the signs are, sound and basically can do what they are supposed to do.
Thank you. Just to clarify, for the purposes of a response to Mayor Hall, that would be a certified permit, would it not? And you would require a structural engineer certificate regarding that sign as part of that documentation, as part of that certified permit, would you not?
Yes, Madam Chair, that's correct. That's our understanding, that through the building permit process, the engineer's details would be provided, and those would be certified details.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Hall, are you happy with that response?
Yes, I am. I just have one more query just in relation to one of the conditions. Am I able to ask that? Or
sure.
Thank you. Just in relation to condition under signage at paragraph 18, I just wondered, for the sake of clarity, whether that heading should be digital signage, as it relates only to digital signage. And I expect on the site, because it's a warehouse, there will be at some point an opportunity for other signage on the site other than the digital signage. And I think that should relate specifically to what it is that the paragraph refers to, but not implicitly by name. We're not talking about signage generally. That paragraph talks specifically about the digital signage, which is referred to all the way through the rest of the RAR. So I just wondered whether that heading should be digital signage, just to make sure that's crystal clear to everyone that that's what it relates to.
Thank you. City officers, could you comment on that, please?
Through the chair, I guess the signage, that provision itself comes from the general provisions in the city's LPO5 advertising signs, which is why it's applied in a broad brush fashion in that sense. But I suppose in terms of reformatting to provide clarity that it is applicable to the digital signage, the city's officers wouldn't have an issue with changing the wording.
Thank you. What I propose is, given we're not actually changing the wording of a condition and we're just making it clear in the heading that groups the conditions, I'm happy for that to be dealt with administratively. Are you happy with that?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And I accept the explanation provided by the staff. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any other questions, Mayor Hall?
No, not from me, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, great. Councillor Kunze, any questions from you?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have a couple of questions. Just following on from Mr. Carter's deputation, I just want to ask in regard to clause 4.4J in policy LPO 5, which states that it's considered on a temporary basis where the planning framework and future character of the locality involved is likely to change. And just my question is that given the strategic planning documents and long-term planning that goes into the integrity of the industrial zones like Welshpool, why is the city of the belief that the planning framework or the future character of the locality is likely to change within 10 years, which is the intention of clause 4.4J?
Could you respond to that, please?
Yeah, and to you, Madam Chair, thank you, Councillor, for the question. Basically, in terms of the our current policy, it's under the current policy framework, we have the LPO 5 advertising signs, the law for allows for the consideration of the third-party signs, which wasn't the case previously. So the temporary nature in under clause 4.4, it outlines that the third-party signs are generally not supported unless we put a time frame on it. In regards to your question as to how we determine or assess the long-term impact or not, or how we put the time frame on it. Basically, the current planning framework facilitates consideration of third-party signs. Usually aims to review we usually aim to review our planning policies within 2 to 3 years time frame. So that's the fundamental aspect of our planning framework that allows for third-party signs. So it's likely that among all of the policies that this policy would also be reviewed, and we would like to see the impact of those signs and how they are basically creating any amenity impact or not. So it is going to be reviewed in most likely in the next 2 years time frame. This practice, in terms of the 10 years time frame, it's not uncommon to have that sort of time frame put on use not listed proposals. They are generally kept to a time frame so that their impacts are considered. One of the examples is not so long ago, there was a sad decision in that regard, which considered the third-party signs in the case of Sereni versus City of Vincent. And in that case, based on the possible changes to the planning framework, the sets basically dismissed the review into the temporary approval condition and basically upheld the city's position. And this is also in line with the current state direction, where the state is seeking to make amendments to the planning and development regulations to basically ask for local governments or even the state planning framework to be reviewed every 10 years. So that is currently out for public comments, and the public comments are closing soon. So that's the direction the state government is also going. So based on that it is a temporary, based on that it is a use not listed, we don't know and this would be the very first application that we're dealing with for third-party signage. It would be very reasonable to provide that sort of 10 years time frame.
So can I just follow up with a question on that, please? So one of the comments you made now was you're reluctant to, well, you want it to be a time-limited approval because you want to assess the impact of that particular approval after a certain period. But wouldn't that apply to any land use approval then? Could you say that if you're approving a medical centre or a childcare centre that you'd want to do the same? So I just want you to comment on that, and I'd like you, if you don't mind, just for our own understanding, could you give me some information about the City of Vincent case that you have spoken about? How comparable is it to this particular proposal?
In terms of the Madam Chair, you asked, you mentioned the other land uses, medical centre. This distinctly is different because it's a use not listed with, and it's not a readily listed land use for the site. It is, we are considering that only basis of the policy that we have, which is fairly recent policy. And in terms of the case that you have referred to, or I have initially referred to, is essentially the original approval was granted for a third-party signs on the corner of Loftus Street and Newcastle Street. And that was granted back in, initially granted in 2004. And then there were subsequent approvals. It was initially temporarily approved for 3 years, and then subsequent approvals were in 2006, 2010, 2014, and the last one, which ended up at SED, was 2014. The approval was granted, that approval was granted by the respondent, City of Vincent, until 2029. So the argument by the applicant was that they wanted the condition to be deleted. However, after listening to the arguments by the City of Vincent, the respondent, SED decided that there was a good link between possible changes to the planning framework and therefore kept the temporary approval.
Okay, and would you agree that that portion of the City of Vincent, in terms of its changing nature as an inner city location, is quite different to Welshpool?
Yes, Madam Chair, I agree. We probably, in terms of the locality character, it's not going to change in our case. It's going to be more than likely after 10 years' time, or perhaps 15 years' time, it's going to be industrial in nature. However, in terms of the planning framework, that's I would emphasize again, in terms of the planning framework, city's position may change. We may not see temporary third-party signs as a viable option, and through the planning framework, i.e. the policy, the city may shift its position. And in that case, if that's going to happen, then we should have temporary approval. And 10 years is a very, in our view, it is a very reasonable amount of time and for the applicant to install and operate for 10 years. And that doesn't stop them from coming back to us. And at that point in time, the city's planning framework is still favorable, the city may consider and grant an extension.
Okay, just one last thing for me then as clarification. So does your current policy specify time-limited approvals for third-party signage or not?
Yes, Madam Chair, it does. And under clause 4.4J, it lists, essentially it says that any third-party sign is to be considered on a temporary basis where planning framework and future character of the locality involved is likely to change. My emphasis would be that planning framework is the one that we would emphasize that it's likely to change. Depending on each review, it's going to be probably another review in 2 years or 3 years' time, and then subsequent reviews. I will also draw your attention to another clause or the criteria in the policy, which is the 4.4L. it talks about that the city's assessment would be on the basis that the sign, third-party sign, would not detract from the existing or likely future character and amenity of the locality. Now, we are obviously we can assess the situation based on a 5 to 10 years time frame, that what sort of impact it's going to have. But if the applicant was to ask for a permanent approval, this criteria cannot be met in our view. We cannot say that in perpetuity, that's not going to have any, it would not detract from the existing or likely future character or amenity of the locality.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Carter, I see you have your hand up. Is there something that you wish to clarify?
Yes, sorry for the interruption. It's not what I'd normally do in a meeting forum like this, but I'm sorry, I can't accept that Vincent argument that's just been added in. I'm very familiar with that property in that case. That property is actually zoned residential R80 and is landlocked and has no vehicular access. And that was the basis why it's been given time limited approvals. It is not comparable. It's not in an industrial location. It is in an area that's highly contentious in downtown, adjacent to downtown Leadville Town Centre, and was only given those approvals on the basis of inability to access vehicular crossovers to the rear because it's on another regional road. So the amenity proposition there is highly likely to change. And I'm sorry, I don't accept cases on residential properties being used to suggest that it's appropriate to time limit sites in industrial locations, because it's a very non-comparable case. So I'm sorry for the interjection. I did just want to add that.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Are there any other questions from any other member of the officers? Member Lafanti.
I have a question that relates to condition 9. My question is, did you want this to have a specified time frame for the removal of redundant vehicle crossovers? I don't see it either in the condition or in the advice notes.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify, is it, is member's question is in relation to condition 19?
9.
So the question is when do you want this to occur? Prior to when?
Yeah. Madam Chair, through Madam Chair, the city doesn't have any objection. Normally, it is expected that those crossover removal would occur prior to occupation, not any time before, because sometimes those crossovers are used in the process of construction, and city does not see those to be that to be a problem. However, if the members would like to, panel would like to specify a time frame, the city would suggest that prior to occupation would be a suitable nexus in terms of the time frames.
Thank you. Other questions, Member Lafanti?
No.
Any questions from you? Okay. I do not have any other questions of the local government officers. So thank you for your points. Councillor Kunza.
Sorry, Chair, I still have a few more questions.
Oh, off you go.
Just with respect to the development approval for the signage and the clause number 3, given that the development approval specifically relates to what's proposed, aka the dimensions of what's proposed, and given these signs only last so long, 10, 15 years, would they not need to submit a new development application in the future if they decided to replace the sign when it came to end of life?
Officers, would you like to respond to that?
Through the chair, sorry, could you just rephrase that question again for us? We didn't quite catch you, haven't prompted the audio.
So with respect to clause 3 and the fact that this development application relates to the signage that is proposed to be installed with the relevant dimensions and so forth. When this sign gets to its end of life, which sometimes might be 10 to 15 years, and if the proponent proposed to put a new sign in its place, would they not need to submit a new development application at that time, given that it might be a new type of sign, new technology, so forth, new dimensions?
Through Madam Chair, yes, Mr. Yes, Councillor, that would be the case if they are proposing something different of different dimension and size or height. A new development application is more than likely would be required. City is unlikely to consider. City may consider an extension of the time at the time if they were to apply for that. But if this is a new sign with different dimension, then yes, the answer would be it's gonna be most likely gonna be a new development application.
So just to go further to that, so if the city is concerned about whether a time limit is imposed for the future, if it's likely, given that this technology has a timely, it only has so long it can last, why do we need a time limit on it when it's likely that in 10 to 15 years they would need to submit a new development application for a new sign if they were proposing to put one?
Through Madam Chair, Councillor, the example of the sad case we have provided, it's basically would come into effect, or basically is a good example. The sign has been there since 2004 or roughly around that time. And now they have approval until 2029. So basically the size of the sign most likely has been kept the same, but maybe the screens or the technology wise they have replaced the screens. So and that if the same scenario is posed to us in future in 10 years time frame, that would become relevant. Your initial question was in relation to a different size dimension sign. So the answer for that would be likely new development approval. But if the size is kept the same, only the screens, for example, have been are basically renewed or updated, then they could perhaps apply through the same amendment process.
I just have one further question, Chair, and it's in relation to clause 18, which is that the signage shall not contain any obscene or offensive information or illustration to the satisfaction of the city. Now, I just wanted to ask, how do you define offensive and who determines whether it's offensive?
Question, thank you. Staff, could you respond to that, please?
Through Madam Chair, it's not clearly defined in the policy. However, it's basically based on the information that's normally provided to the city, that the city would form a view on such matters. So that's basically, as I said, it's not defined in the policy or elsewhere as offensive. So basically, it's the information provided, we assess and we form an opinion whether it could be offensive or not.
Given that this is a condition for the proponent to meet, don't you think that offensive should be defined in order for them to actually meet this condition?
So, Madam Chair, yes, Council, that probably is something that we can consider, and we can, moving forward in our next review of the policy, we embark on that and define it.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Kunza?
No further questions.
Thank you. Any other member have questions of the officers before we move to the report? No? Okay. Let's move to the report. We have a recommendation before us for approval, subject to a number of conditions. Can I seek a mover and seconder for the recommendation in the report? Anyone wish to move? Member Lafanti, thank you. Does anyone wish to second? Councillor Kunza, did you pop your hand up there? Thank you. Member Lafanti, over to you.
Thank you. From in my perspective, I'm supportive of this proposal. The warehouse and office building is consistent with the planning framework, including the scheme and the general industrial objectives. And I'm satisfied that the objections received during the consultation period have been satisfactorily addressed and commented in the RA, and I have no additional concerns about those. And I'm particularly of the view that the signage element doesn't create visual clutter or traffic safety, particularly given that it has been supported by Main Roads, who are obviously very involved with impact of signage on that road, as well as on the off-ramp. The building form and scale reflects what is expected in a general industrial zone. It's adjoins, it's a locational context to adjoining Leach Highway, we've already indicated, and the off-ramp, as far as I'm concerned, is completely suitable for that location. There's no residential land uses in close proximity, in my view, that are impacted by this proposal. I note there are some small variations to setbacks and facade meeting materials under LPS 42, as well as some variations to signage height. And I support the exercise of discretion on these variations. I consider these to be minor, and as I've already indicated, its location or context, these do not create any impacts on the area. As far as the unlisted or not listed use, the third-party signage, I am satisfied that it is appropriate in its locational context. Consideration of issues such as particularly driver safety have been addressed. Main Roads have provided a number of comments that go to driver safety and distraction, and I'm satisfied that those matters have been satisfactorily appropriately addressed. I'm very familiar with that location, Leach Highway and Welshpool Road. I don't see that there will be any particular issues associated with that proposal. At this juncture, however, I would like to move an amendment. I'd like to move Amendment 1, and that is delete condition 3. If I have a seconder, I will speak to that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Thank you, Member Cox. Councillor Kunza, do you wish to speak to that amendment?
Yes, my reason for removing the condition is that I understand the comments that the city have provided. I don't agree with them, however. This is a significant long-term general industrial area. It is located by some substantial road infrastructure, both in terms of scale and in terms of heights. It has no indication from my perspective that that area would change. There's no significant justification in the report in the RA for retaining it in that manner for a limited time frame. And I note the applicant has provided some comments in relation to the SAT determination. I am very familiar with the intersection in Loftus of the other site, and this is completely different from that. That is essentially located in an urban area that has opportunity for residential development surrounding it. From my perspective, that is very, very different from what is a long-standing industrial area that I've already cited, and I do not see this in any way, shape or form would impact any changes to the framework will change dramatically what currently occurs both physically in that area in terms of the road network as well as the buildings.
Thank you, Member Lafanti. Councillor Kunza, seconder to this amendment, if you wish to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would just say that I support the amendment. I'm often hearing about how it's important that we maintain the integrity of our industrial zones and that the WA Planning Commission is committed to maintaining the integrity of these areas. I therefore don't see why any update or review of our planning framework would provide a situation where this would no longer be permitted. And so given that the approval is recommended for this signage, I don't know why we would then provide a 10-year limitation on it, especially given the investment that the proponent is making into installing this signage. So I would support the amendment.
Thank you very much. Does any other member wish to speak for or against? Mayor Hall.
Thanks, Chair. I support the amendment as it's been put in principle. I would make the point that that part 3 actually is in 2 parts. The first part deals with the temporary allocation. The second part is a make good provision. I think the make good provision is important because this is a massive structure, the size of a 5 or 6 story building looming up on the landscape above a major highway. And without a make good provision, once this becomes the end of life, the city of Canning and everybody passing through there will be left with a gargantuous steel fabricated piece of structure that is not able to be removed because we removed the only condition that would require the proponents to actually take it down at end of life. So I was hoping that there might be just an approach that might keep in place the make good provision, which is a standard provision in many commercial considerations, and this is a commercial third-party arrangement. I don't think it would be beyond the realms of possibility that we actually ensure for the sake of the community that this structure is removed once it becomes end of operational life, whenever that might be.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. I'm going to actually revert to the mover of this amendment just to check. Are you comfortable to delete that first part of condition 3 and to reword the latter section to state, in the event the third party signage is no longer used or is discontinued, the structure shall be removed and the land reinstated? Would you be happy with that as an amended amendment?
I'm fine with that. That's okay. I'm comfortable with that. My intention is that the sign has no time limit. I have some reservations because I think that would apply to any structure in any location, and that modifying this, I'm not sure that there's been any information that says general structure, structural integrity is an obligation on anything we build.
All right, what I suggest then, Mayor Hall, is we're going to deal with the amendment to delete this condition. If you would then like to move an amendment to reinsert a new condition 3 based on your views expressed there, then you are welcome to do so, and we'll debate that a little bit separately. So let's revert then to the amendment which proposes deletion of condition 3. Are there any other members that would like to comment on that? No? All right, let's vote on the amendment to delete condition 3 as it is currently worded. All those in favour? Sorry, Mayor Hall, I can't see. Are you voting in favour? Yep. All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Back to you, Member Lafanti.
I would also like to move amendment 2, and it is to condition 9 to add the words at the beginning of that condition prior to occupation. And my reason is just to be clear about the time frame for this collection of these works to be undertaken.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Member Coltas seconded. Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the amendment?
No.
Okay.
Can I just, for show, just say add the words prior to occupation of the development? That'll make it consistent with other conditions above it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Does any member wish to speak on that amendment? No? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Back to you.
I've said everything I want to.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Kunza, as seconder, do you wish to speak?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Look, I'll just start by proposing an amendment following my question before. I just want to amend clause 18 to remove the words or offensive so that it shall read, the signage shall not contain any obscene information or illustration to the satisfaction of the city. And if I have a second, I'll speak to it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Thank you, Mayor Hall. Councillor Kunza, back to you.
Look, I just briefly, I mean, Oxford Dictionary defines offensive as someone causing someone to feel resentful, upset or annoyed. Whilst I recognise the intention of having it in the policy, I just find having it in a condition on this development application is just too hard to meet. I find, unfortunately, we live in a world where people are very quick to be offended, and the things that someone might be offended, or I might find people are quick to be offended by. We're regularly lobbied at a local government level to outlaw certain advertisements, whether it be junk food or those alcohol. There's a number of things that local government gets lobbied for, and some people are offended when they see local government infrastructure with junk food. Some people aren't, but for the city to then be the adjudicator of what is offensive, I just don't think that that is a clause that can be met by the proponent and appropriately adjudicated by the City of Canning. And so I don't think it should be part of the clause that we put on as part of this proposed approval. So I'd ask you to support the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Kunza. Mayor Hall, as seconder of the amendment, you wish to speak?
Only to say, and I'm sorry, I look like I'm from a galaxy far, far away. I'll get the camera sorted for the next meeting. Sorry, I'm so far away. I support that. We've spoken in council about the real implications around this. The bar is set very low these days on offence, and we would be the subject if the City of Canning ends up being the umpire for this, as the condition proposes that we would. We will be inundated with complaints from people about all manner of things that they feel offended by, and I'm not sure how we would adjudicate those, given that there is no definition in LP05 in relation to what offence actually means. So I think that the amendment is a sensible amendment. I think obscenity is something that is probably far easier for us to determine and can be quickly determined, but offence means different things to different people, and the bar is set way too low. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Does any other member wish to speak for or against this amendment? Member Lafanti.
Thank you. I support the amendment. However, I would probably go further and delete the whole condition for the reasons that both members who have already spoken have indicated. I think it's there are various legislation about certain matters, and I do question both of those, obscene and offensive, in terms of the subjectivity and the relevance of it. I'll support a modification. So,
thank you, Councillor Kunza. Do you, in moving the amendment, would you be happy to move the amendment suggested by Member Lafanti, or are you happy to stick with it the way it is?
It's a good question. My original intention of removing just offensive was it's far more subjective than obscene. Obscenity speaks to standards of morality and decency. It's more common to speak of obscenity than it is offensiveness, which is why I moved the amendment in this way. So I'll probably seek to keep it as it is and see what the room has to say.
Thank you very much. All right, let us deal. Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I support the amendment from Councillor Kunza. I think there are other legislation that define obscenity, and I think that the council can determine what they feel is obscene, and it can be then tested in the courts. So I'm supporting the amendment as is.
Thank you. All right, let's vote on this amendment, and the amendment is to amend condition 18 to remove the word offensive.
Or offensive.
Sorry?
Or offensive.
Or offensive.
Sorry.
The words or offensive. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Back to you, Councillor Kunza.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I'll just say that I support the amended motion. The warehouse is a suitable land use, meets the relevant planning policy. It provides an improved amenity in the precinct, also increases the number of trees and vegetation. So I think it's a well thought out and well presented proposal, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Hall, do you wish to speak to the substantive motion?
Far away, Chair, yes, I do, but I did want to propose to reinstate that amendment. I didn't have the opportunity. We will obviously need to, unless it's actually reinstated, reorder. I guess that'll be done in an administrative manner, but we'll need to reorder everything, all of those conditions. I wanted to propose that we reinstate a condition 3, and I'm prepared to give you some wording for that and then speak to it if I have a seconder.
Well, would you like to give us the wording before we ask for a seconder?
Yes, of course. The wording would be words to the effect of, and I'm happy for anybody to jump in and assist with this. Upon the end of the operational life of the structure, it shall be removed and the land reinstated to its former condition. So upon the end of the operational life of the structure, it shall be removed and the land reinstated to its former condition.
Mayor Hall, can I just, in formulating this so that we can get it right, my view is the operational life of the structure might come to an end and they'd be fully entitled to replace it with like for like without further approval. So that would mean that once it reaches its end of operational life, even if they intend to replace it like for like, they'd have to remove the whole thing. So I'm wondering if you would prefer to include a new condition 3 which reads, upon discontinuance of the third-party signage use, it shall be removed and land reinstated to its former condition to the satisfaction of the City of Canning.
That's why you're paid the big money, Chair. Well done.
Don't I wish? All right. Can I just, I'll reread it and we'll see whether or not we have a seconder. So, and I can't even remember what I just said. In the event of the discontinuance of the third-party signage use, it shall be removed and the land reinstated to its former condition to the satisfaction of the City of Canning. Are you happy with that?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for that condition? Councillor Kunze, thank you. Mayor Hall, do you wish to speak further to that amendment?
Yes, I will. I will actually speak to it. I think I do take in the comments of my colleague earlier in relation to setting a precedent in relation to all structure, and that this should apply to all structure. Not absolutely certain that I agree totally with that. I think we need to look at every application on an application by application basis, whilst the planning guidelines are broad and allow us certain flexibility and discretion. I think in this matter, we've actually been, what has been put before us is a development application, which seems more to be around this sign structure than it is around the warehouse. And I don't say that flippantly, because we actually have been speaking almost unilaterally about this signage rather than the development as a whole. This is different. This signage is extraordinarily large. It actually is not in keeping with, in fact, it doesn't comply with the height restrictions under LPO 5, not in a manner that is immaterial, but in a manner that is significant and material. It exceeds the height limit by almost 5 metres and soars above the landscape. I think that this is not a sign that has been erected for the purpose of advertising the business that exists on site. It has been put before us as third-party signage simply to provide revenue for the owners. And I understand that fully. I have no issue with that at all. But for that reason, once the purpose of that signage no longer exists, it should be on it should be the responsibility of the proponents to then remove it and make good provisions commonplace in commercial arrangements. And this is a commercial third-party arrangement separate to, I would make my opinion is it is separate to the building of the warehouse. This is a separate use for a separate structure. It's a totally commercial third-party use, and it is a gargantuan piece of equipment that should, in my view, once the arrangement is finished and everybody has made their profit from it, it should be returned, it should be removed from the landscape. That is my view.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Would the seconder to the amendment like to speak?
Only to say that I support the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, does any other member wish to speak for or against this amendment?
Yes, I understand the sentiment behind the condition or proposed amendment. However, we're dealing with an application here for a building, landscaping, parking, and the signage and the sign. This approval will run with the land, as will the building itself. If we are going to restrict the use or insist on the sign being removed, the structure being removed, then it also opens up the question of whether we are also going to ask for the building to be removed. A lot of developments, when buildings become vacant, tenants move out, they can sit there for quite a long time without having a tenant. When do we define the use ceasing? The sign has an approval as long as the structure is not changed, then it is receiving a permanent approval. I don't think we can then introduce into this permanent approval that we're contemplating a condition to remove it just because it's the lease of the sign structure has finished. The owner who receives permanent approval for the sign and the building may wish to leave it, the building vacant for a while or can't get a tenant with the sign itself because the lease has run out. So I'm just a bit nervous about us putting a condition on that when the use ceases, it may cease for a year or two, but then another tenant or another owner buys the property and says, well, hang on, I've got an approval for the structure. It hasn't been used for a couple of years, but neither has the building. I wish to start the use up again. So I'm just contemplating that aspect, the legality of introducing a wording that is going to be problematic in the future if the whole site sits vacant for a couple of years. So I'll be speaking against it for that reason. Understand the sentiment behind it, but I don't think legally we can craft a condition to do that when we're giving permanent approval for this structure and the building.
Thank you. Any other member wish to speak for or against the amendment? No. Look, I'll very briefly speak to this amendment. I acknowledge what Member Coltaz has said. I do agree that it becomes a bit tricky when you have approved a permanent use and then you start talking about removal and reinstatement of a use. So I absolutely do take that point. I do feel, though, in this particular case, given this council's policy on third-party signage, given the council's initial desire or the city's initial desire to time limit the approval, given that the contractual arrangements for the signage, sorry, Councillor Kunze.
Sorry, Mayor Patrick Hole's just contacted me to let me know that he's been, his system has crashed and he's no longer on the recording.
All right, we will pause then temporarily while we see if we can get Mayor Hall back. Thank you, Councillor.
Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
I know, good, all good. Members that are still included in the meeting, given we're trying to get Mayor Patrick Hall back into the meeting, I might just move a procedural motion just to adjourn for 5 minutes. We can take a comfort break while we get him back online. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Member Lafanti. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
Can you hear us okay, Mayor Hall?
Just take a minute. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, yes, we can hear you now. We've just taken a 5-minute adjournment for a comfort break.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Hello, welcome back, Mayor Hall. We're just waiting for Councillor Kunze to pop back with us. Hi there, Councillor. Are we all ready to continue? Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry about that.
Not a problem at all. All right, I might go back to the beginning of my speaking on that amendment to include a new condition. I will just reiterate what I said before. I agree with Member Coltas's comments that it does become a bit tricky when you require a use that is being permanently approved to be removed after a period of time if it is discontinued, because that could apply to any use. So I understand those comments and I agree with them. But I will, given the circumstances around this particular use, I will support the amendment, and I'm going to suggest a minor tweak to it on the basis that the city's policy does talk about time-limited approvals for these signs. And given the recommendation of the city staff for that condition, which we have since deleted, it is not impossible that because third-party signage may be different subject to different contractual arrangements than the main use on site. I could see a scenario potentially where the signage is discontinued because there might be a breakdown in a contractual relationship with the signage provider. There might be some issues with that sign and it could sit there idle while the use continues. So I would be happy to support the condition 3, a new condition 3 with a minor inclusion, and I might read that for your consideration, Mayor Hall and Councillor Kunza. The condition could then read, in the event the use of the third-party signage is discontinued for a period of 12 months or more, the structure shall be removed and the land reinstated to its former condition to the satisfaction of the City of Canning. And I think that adds more certainty that if it is discontinued for a couple of months while there's a new contract being dealt with, we don't have to rush in and take the structure down. I think 12 months or more is a decent amount of time to address that issue. And by adding the words to the satisfaction of the City of Canning, if the City of Canning felt in a scenario like that, there is merit in not requiring the sign to be removed for whatever reason, then it is at their discretion to make that call. So I'm suggesting, I'm happy to support the condition on the basis that there is that 12 months or more included in that condition. Mayor Hall, as mover, would you be satisfied with inclusion of that wording?
Yes, I am. It does provide certainty, and I think that's why we're here. So yes, it does.
Councillor Kunza, would you be satisfied with that wording?
Yes, I'd be satisfied with the wording. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so speaking to that amendment, I'm happy to support the wording on that basis. What I will do then is, given we've all spoken on it now, is I will put that amendment, and again for the minutes, I will put the amendment to include a new condition which reads, in the event the use of the third-party signage is discontinued for a period of 12 months or more, the structure shall be removed and the land reinstated to its former condition to the satisfaction of the City of Canning. All those in favour of that amendment?
Chair, just through the chair, as we've had a number of members speaking against the matter, have I got the opportunity to close?
Sorry, yes, you will have the opportunity to close. Sorry, Mayor Hall, off you go.
Thank you. And just briefly, only to say that I appreciate your work on firstly supporting the intent of the amendment, but also by helping me to work on something that is perhaps more palatable. And without going into defending any position, I'd only say that even recently in the City of Canning, High Street in Riverton, the Willetton commercial district there, that members may be familiar with, we had all sorts of trouble there. It's an old area from the 1960s, and most of the signage along that street, not only is it in a state of disrepair, some of it was actually in a dangerous condition. We actually had one large sign had actually fallen down, and we actually found at that time, going back and having a look, that the city, because of probably a little bit of lack of foresight from 50 odd years ago, when perhaps people had more pride in what they were doing, we had failed to put in place conditions around those that gave the City of Canning the opportunity to ensure that those signs were maintained. And so I think that in hindsight, any practical solution to ensuring that the city has some responsibility now for assisting to ensure that the signage, especially large format signage that is put in place, is kept in a condition, or at least for the purpose intended of it, is a good amendment. So I appreciate your support, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mayor Hall. Let's vote on that amendment. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That amendment is carried. Mayor Hall, back to you to talk to the substantive.
I support this substantive motion. I've got nothing further to say, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Does any other member wish to speak for or against the substantive motion as amended?
Yes, I will. Look, just briefly, application is for a permanent approval of the signage and the building. The building component, I think, has been assessed as being appropriate use, and relevant conditions in terms of the impact of the development have been incorporated. The overall development in terms of setbacks, built form, parking, landscaping has all been agreed to by the City Responsible Authority report, and I'm supportive of that. The sign, in terms of the safety aspects of its location, it's designed in accordance with Main Road's signage controls on a primary regional road, and the technical aspects of viewing the sign based on the speed of the traffic in the location is all appropriate. To exercise discretion in the variation of the height of the sign, and therefore I think that the recommendation to approve is understood, and I'm supporting that. I'll just go back and reiterate the fact that we are approving the sign in a permanent structure. We've now imposed a condition, which I don't think we can, to vary the approval period, because somebody's going to have to determine when the sign has stopped use in terms of the structure itself. I understand councillors' comments regarding the signage in Willetton. I think what we're doing, what was done there is the maintenance of signage is different to cancelling a permanent approval. If a sign is falling over, there are conditions that, or legislation, and that can empower the council to enforce safety requirements, and if signs are approved, conditions can be put on it to the signage is to be maintained in the original condition for the term of its existence, but to say that the sign itself, the approved sign, has to be removed after 12 months of not functioning, I think that is a problem, and therefore I think that amendment will possibly show difficulty in enforcement later. But having said that, I'm supportive of the overall development.
Thank you, Member Coltaz. Does any other member wish to speak for or against the substantive motion? We've all had a chance to speak. I will just speak briefly. I'm happy to support the proposal. I would like to move a very minor amendment to delete advice note 1 as it duplicates condition 1. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Thank you, Member Lafanti. I don't need to speak to that further. We dealt with the City of Canning report last week where we picked this up as well. There is no need for that advice note. Condition 1 locks that into place. There's no need for duplication. Does any other member wish to speak for or against that amendment? No. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Like I said, happy to support. Warehouse storage is a permitted use on the site. The office is incidental to the primary use. The proposal meets the objectives of the general industry zone. Matters to be considered under clause 67 of the planning regulations, and it largely meets the requirements of the planning scheme, where discretion is sought on the primary setback and the facade provisions of the scheme. These variations have been well justified by both the applicant and the city in their RA. As we have seen, larger third-party signs are often quite contentious. Given the location and its underlying zoning, we have found it to be supportable, subject to the conditions recommended by Main Roads and those imposed by the city in their recommendation. So happy to support. We've all spoken now on the substantive, so I will revert to the mover. Member Lafanti, do you wish to close?
No further comments.
Nothing further. All right, let us vote on the substantive motion as amended. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4, Form 2 DAP applications, there are none. Item 5, Section 31, SAT reconsiderations, also nil. Part D then, other business. Item 1, SAT applications and Supreme Court appeals. SAT applications for the DAPs are listed on the website. There is one that relates to an application for a medical centre at Lot 46 Coode Street, South Perth. With that, I draw the meeting to a close at 10:51 a.m. and thank everyone for your attendance and to the Secretariat the rest of the day. Bye.